This program is brought to you by Emory University.
What we did is we got samples together from our Emory Center and another collaborator, Dwight German at University of Texas Southwestern. And so we could look at two different geographical populations, blood samples from people who had been exposed in different regions and at different centers, to do our best to make sure we weren't just having spurious findings when we went to replicate this study. And that was the result that just came out in our recent publication in JAMA Neurology. In fact, the blood levels of DDE, which is a long-lasting metabolite of DDT, are elevated in Alzheimer's disease quite significantly compared to controls. There's a national study called NHANES, which has measured DDT and DDE in blood, a cross-sectional population of Americans, and found that DDE levels continue to accumulate with age. So even though it's been banned, this is something that's a chemical that has a very long half-life. It persists in the environment for many years. And once it gets into people, it can persist for many years. So for example, it takes about 10 years for DDE to have half of it degraded in a human being. So it really persists in our tissues. And just like our tissues, it persists in the tissues of fowl and fish and other wildlife. So it's out in the environment, and so it's part of our food chain. So despite it being banned, it's stable, persistent, and accumulates in all of us as we age. Our first priority is to replicate this finding in a much larger group. There has been a study in India which also found an elevation of DDE in Alzheimer's disease. So it's giving us more confidence that this is not a spurious finding, but that's step one. I think step two, where this takes the field in general, is we've known Alzheimer's disease has a very strong genetic component, and we're still tracking down those genetic influences. But we have really been clueless when it comes to potential environmental exposures that are perhaps involved in Alzheimer's disease. And so this is really potentially one of the first environmental insults that could be identified. And so I think I would expect to see more and more research in the future studying the role of the environment in Alzheimer's disease.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.